battle in about 15 minutes. Are you here? We need you.
Not there in Game of Thrones.
Relics.
Hey everyone, this is Relics. Welcome to the first Bad at Tanks weekly show. We're going to start this little series here, talk about World of Tanks, tournaments, since that's becoming a big thing. Go over different aspects of tanks that everybody should know about, give a little bit of my opinions on different things, maybe touch on some clan war strategies, all kinds of stuff we'll get into, all related to World of Tanks. So let's go ahead and get started with the first episode here. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Relics, obviously, as stated earlier. I've been playing World of Tanks for a little over a year now, pretty much all of it in the Clan Forge. I've been in a lot of tournament stuff, along with Nagatron, who does shoutcasting with me weekly for the Classic League, which everybody hopefully watches, or should start. I do a lot of strategy with Forge, and we look at a lot of stuff for tournament strategies, because that's really our big thing now, doing a lot of tournaments. It's a heck of a lot of fun. We did win the first clan tournament, the Absolute Power tournament that came out a few months ago now. So yeah, got quite a bit of experience with all that stuff, so hopefully I can give you guys some good insight. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump into our first topic here, which is patch 7.3. First of all, thing to look at is the Russian tree, getting a lot of splits, a lot of additions in tanks. First, there's the ISFOR, which is becoming now a tier 10 tank. I absolutely loved the IS-4 as a tier 9 tank. It was a little soft in some areas in the front, but overall it was a heck of a lot of fun. At least for me, that's transitioned over to the tier 10 side. I know a lot of people are complaining about it. It does seem a little weak on the armor portion, but I seem to still run into a lot of bounces and stuff off of the armor, especially when we're engaged in close combat or medium range combat. The big key thing to differentiate it from the IS-7 that I've noticed is the hit point pool. It's got a 2400 hit point pool, which makes it not necessarily better than the IS-7 in any way, because the IS-7 is still going to have the better armor to bounce stuff, but in situations where you have a large open area where the tanks all have to cross, and you have artillery that you're going to have to worry about, the IS-4 is going to have those extra hit points to be able to make it all the way across without a problem. So don't go selling it or anything crazy like that, because I can guarantee you that strategists are going to find ways to use it in unique situations that'll make it extremely useful. Next up is the additions of two new tier 9 tanks for the Russian tree. Since obviously the IS-4 is gone and we need to add an extra one, since we have two tier 10 tanks to work with here. And that is the IS-8 and the ST-1. Now, the ST-1, I'm not one of the lucky people that just free XP'd it up, so other than it looking like a really giant tank, I can't really say too much about the ST-1 right now. But the IS-8, I can say, is a heck of a lot of fun. Like I said, I like the IS-4 as a tier 9 tank. It was a lot of fun. The IS-8, way more fun. It's got great speed, it has good armor, great angles. It's just a heck of a lot of fun to drive, and it's one of those things where the Russian tree, I made the mistake of starting out in the American tree, going through that. Rough time when it was back before all the changes came in. But the Russian tree now seems like the best tree for anybody to start out on, because there isn't a single tank in that tree that I did not have fun in driving. So, the IS-8, great addition to it, tons of fun. I definitely suggest anybody to try it out. And then we also have the splits of the KV. A lot of people are familiar with the KV Derp as a tier 5 tank, which was a little bit of a problem when it comes to like tournaments and such, because you got a gun that does 750 damage, you're going to be one-shotting a lot of tanks. Even though there is that long reload, the Derp's a bit annoying. So they split that off. We have the KV-1 and the KV-2 now. The KV-2 being upranked to tier 6, and they kind of moved it over as saying that it's kind of like this is an artillery type tank. So it's found its new home over there. Then we also had a KV-4 added down the IS-7 tree? No, the IS-4 tree, I believe, below the ST-1. I haven't had a lot of play with any of those tanks, since I've been kind of sticking to using the IS-4 and the IS-8, but hopefully I'll be able to talk about those a little bit more as this goes on. The other big addition to this patch is two new maps. The first one being Dragon Ridge. I've only played probably 3 or 4 matches through the standard system. on Dragon Ridge. So far, it has been the most visually stunning map that I've seen so far, which unfortunately kills a lot of people's FPS, so I've heard. But I really like the look of the map. It's great. It's the first Asian map, I believe. So it's been a lot of fun. It's kind of an interesting layout that I'm not sure that I'm quite comfortable with. It's basically laid out in like a big figure eight with a city down the middle where the lines cross over. And then you have your bases at the ends of the eights on either side. And then the city that's in the middle is extremely open. So, at least for a lot of brawling, there's a lot of buildings in there, but every building is collapsible. So, you get these kind of exciting battles where you have your tanks going into the middle. Everybody's trying to hide behind buildings, get cover through everything. You have people traipsing through buildings, knocking stuff over, trying to get to them. You have artillery to worry about, so you have to hide next to that building. And it's very fast-paced, very exciting to be one of the tanks up in there. It also kind of stinks when you have, 5 or 6 artillery on the other team and you just get bombarded out. So it's kind of a mixture of excitement and, oh man. So we'll see how it plays out as a lot more people get used to it. I know it's a little hard just looking at the terrain, knowing where to go. So that confuses a lot of people, but I think as people get comfortable with it, we'll see a lot of interesting stuff moving through there, and it'll continue to be a fun map. The other map that they added is South Coast. Now, I've only played like 1 or 2 matches on it, and I was absolutely confused on where to go with it at first. The terrain looks like it's very flat terrain, but there's lots of little tiny valleys through the entire thing, so it makes it kind of hard to tell where to go. Probably see I have like a little screen up here of me and my bat chat where I basically just go at it, and I don't suggest doing this on this map until you're a regular, actually know what's going on with it, but I go through it, I take a turn, and I run into a wall. And then I'm looking up around and, oh hey, I could have gone this way. But there's lots of little nooks and crannies and places to move around and rocks in the way. It's a very interesting map. And then I later had a match in my IS-8 where I was able to go down onto the beach, which is kind of interesting because there's not a lot of worry about artillery through there, but it's a pretty quick run to the other side of the map, which can get you behind artillery, so a lot of teams really have to watch for that. It was, at first, a little hard to see that you could go that way. The avenues aren't too clear, but it should be a really interesting map to see once people start getting used to everything and where to hide and where to push. I think it'll be a fun map. And the last big addition to 7.3 is related to Clan Wars, which is tank locking. They added tank locking. No, I'm just kidding. They didn't add tank locking. It was an accident. There was a lot of hubbub about it, but tank locking is not going to show up in this patch. They're trying to fix it, take it out. We'll be okay. I know a lot of people are still kind of fighting for whether we should have tank locking on this server, since they do have it on the Russian servers and the European servers. And I think there's a pretty big consensus, at least through Wargaming, that on the American server, at least right now, tank locking is not going to be a good idea. Really, the only people tank locking is going to help is going to be the clans that already have the tanks. Right now, just as a comparison, on the Russian servers, every landing zone that is on the map ends up with probably 10 to 15 clans trying to enter it every week, or I'm sorry, every day. Whereas opposed to our server, where we're having probably 2 to 4 people trying to get in it daily. So you're not really wearing down the big clans with that, and the little clans are just going to end up having their tanks locked out once they get to the battle with owner. And then you just have a small clan that can't do anything for 7 days, which isn't going to help them learn, isn't going to help them get better to be able to start taking the land and, get into the clan war scene. It's still a great idea as an idea to have tank locking, but not with the population that we can currently support. So get all your friends to play, bump your population up to double, and then you can have tank locking. Alright, let's go ahead and move on to our next topic here, which will be tournaments. So first of all, we have the new big tournament that just started last week. We already have a winner for the first one, which is the Skirmishes. Skirmishes are a very interesting setup. Most of them are, I think this last one was all tier 4 or less, and no artillery. And the one coming up here is all tier 5 light tanks. So it's kind of going for a different look at everything and going for more exciting, fast-paced matches. And another big point of that is it's also going for really low-tier tanks. So all of you clans out there that don't necessarily have the tanks to compete in Clan Wars or to compete in the Classic League, get in on these skirmishes. There is quite a bit of gold you can earn from them. It's 1 week playthrough. Get all your buddies in it, get a bunch of light tanks, and just run through it, and it's a blast. It doesn't take a whole bunch of strategy. You really just need to keep your tanks together and roll stuff over, and you'll have a good time. One thing to keep in mind, right now there's only one skirmish going every week, which is, I believe, 64 players in it. So the more people we have applying to it, the more we have kind of a justification to Lord Farquaad and Joan Direction, the wargaming guys that actually run it, to maybe throw out several divisions of the skirmishes and get everybody into it and get a lot more competition, have a lot more fun, start getting a lot more people into this in-game content for World of Tanks that is going to get you gold. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the Classic League. For those of you who don't know, I do a shoutcast with Nagatron on a weekly basis for all of the Classic League matches. Basically, they send me in replays of their wins or losses, and we go over it, give some commentary. You can check that out over at youtube.com/jollyqgaming. We also have a thread, which I'll have linked somewhere around here. And it's really an interesting Classic League so far. We've had a lot of great matches with people. When the actual playoffs start, which will be happening in 4 weeks, we'll have some really exciting matches, probably a lot of really close battles, since we have a lot of these great teams facing off each other at that point. As it stands right now, we are in week 7 of the actual season. It ends on week 9. So next week and the week after are going to be really the key matches here to solidify who's going to be moving into the playoffs. We have a lot of teams that have ties across the board. A lot of really close stuff that's going to start breaking here in these next 2 matches. I believe the next match we have is on Inks, so it's going to be our first, I wouldn't say primarily city map, but there's a lot of city in this map, so I expect to see some good brawling with a lot of tanks, which should be really interesting to see. Not a lot of slow play necessarily with artillery in that case. It's going to be a lot of just tank-on-tank action. So it should be good stuff to see. I imagine we won't see too much in the field over on the east side of Inks, just because it's so open. You don't want to put artillery out there. We might see some scouting out there, maybe some early medium rushing, maybe some cap pushing across the tracks. But overall, I'd expect we see a lot of holding in the city there. It should be pretty interesting. So definitely stay tuned for more of my shoutcasts with Nagatron. We might also have some special guests coming in for it, and we'll watch some of these matches coming up here. One of the big news things that we have for the playoffs here, once we actually do get to week 10, which is not an actual season week, but it's going to be a tiebreaker week, so we'll have quite a bit of that. We mostly will have that for people trying to go for wild cards, which are going to be the top point teams across the board, not necessarily the actual winners of each division. And then we're going to have, actually, it looks like a couple division tiebreakers, which will be extremely exciting. Lots on the line to get past those. So, stay tuned. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at our highlights of the week. First of all, our garage highlights. I'd like to talk a little bit about a skill that not necessarily a lot of people use, but that I use all the time now. It's a little skill called Sixth Sense. This little skill, when I first saw it when the skills came out, I thought, I'm not a noob. I know when I'm lit. I don't need to worry about anything. Anybody that gets it is a noob. Blah, 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 blah. And so I went without it on any of my tanks and just piled on Brothers in Arms, which is a decent skill. And then I decided at one point just to go ahead and test it on my Batchat, my French medium tank. And I now have it on every single tank, probably. It is a great skill. So for those of you that don't know what Sixth Sense does, it is a commander skill. A commander perk. So once you have 100% in the perk, then it actually activates. And what it does is, when you are spotted by an enemy tank, 3 seconds after, you'll get a nice little pop-up above your tank's head that'll tell you that you've been spotted. So most people might not think this is a big deal. And in standard matches, it isn't necessarily. Although you'll see people hiding in weird spots that you don't necessarily know. And once you see that little pop-up above your head, it kind of signals you, oh crap, I need to hide. Artillery might be able to shoot me here. So it gives you a lot of great forewarning. Even better for clan wars, an interesting strategy with it. If your light tank or medium tanks have it on there, and you're not quite sure where their tanks are or whether they can see you or whatnot, you kind of do these loops with it. And you just keep branching out for a little bit further and further until that pops up, and then you know, okay, there's tanks in this area, we're good. Or likewise with your heavy tanks, if you're doing, let's say we're on cliffs and you're doing a big heavy 1-2 rush, and you have tanks with Sixth Sense on it, and you get about halfway down the road and you still haven't been triggered on Sixth Sense, then you know, at that point, they don't have any tanks necessarily looking down the 1-2, and then once you keep pushing further and further, if you're still not getting lit, you know, okay, they're doing a big rush through the middle or above the lighthouse or something like that. So it gives you a lot of good intelligence on where enemy tanks are before you even see enemy tanks. So I highly suggest this skill to any clan or any player to use. It's been invaluable. I love the skill. It is great. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at this week's mod highlight of the week. This week we're looking at Dab97's Arcade and Sniper Reticle, which you might have seen me use on all of our Shoutcast matches. It's a great reticle. It's very small, but it gives you a lot of information, so you can see your health on one side. You can see how far your reload is going at the time. If you're playing with a French tank, you can see exactly how much ammunition you currently have in the little shell counter at the bottom. It's just a lot of very valuable information, easily put in where you're looking most of the time anyways. So I highly suggest everybody give it a try, see if you like it. This, of course, is on a little site some people might know as curse.com, where right now Nagatron is actually working to get all kinds of mods and stuff up there, so definitely check it out. We'll have a link for the mod, so check it out, see if you like it. Alright, with this being our first episode out, I figured we'd go ahead and give a little bit of a giveaway to those that subscribe up to us. Right now we have the charity event going on right now for gifts, so we have a T14 with 1,000 gold. We'll go ahead and do a giveaway of that. Basically, to qualify, all you need to do is hit that subscribe button, leave a comment below, maybe about what you thought about the video, what you thought about 7.3, how you're liking the tournaments, really anything you want to talk about. I'll be looking through comments and everything, see if I can respond to as much as I can. And yeah, I'll pick a random comment from below, and we'll give out some gold. Alright, that's it for this week's Bad Tanks. Next week we'll take a look at 7.4, where we have some new gameplay options that Overlord's been talking about on his blog, so we'll go through some of that. I should have some new information on the Classic Leagues. We should probably have a few division winners that we can decide already before we're going on to round 9, which is on Fjords. So we're getting pretty close here to getting all the playoffs locked in and who's going to be in it. We'll talk a little bit about that more. Also, as you can see, this is all kind of barren here. We'll keep working on this. The audio might be a little bit off, so hopefully we'll fine-tune this all for the next episode, and we'll just keep working on it. Thanks for joining me. Be sure you check out the Jolly Shoutcast covering the Classic League, which again I'll have linked around here for you. Make sure you also check out curse.com, where we have all kinds of crazy mods getting uploaded by Nagatron. So lots of good stuff for you to pull out there. We'll continue to do some highlights on them, give you some good ideas on which one to pick up. And I'll see you next week. Have a good one.